The sky darkened as massive alien ships pierced Earth's atmosphere, their obsidian hulls blocking out sunlight like metallic storm clouds. Minjun Park watched from the Global Defense Command Center in Seoul, his hands trembling slightly as he monitored the incoming threat. Sirens wailed across cities worldwide. People stopped in streets, parks, and offices, staring upward in a mixture of terror and disbelief. The Zorn invasion fleet wasn't just another military attack. It was a systematic extermination protocol that had already consumed thousands of planetary systems. In Tokyo, satellite communications specialist Yuki Tanaka tracked the ship trajectories. Her computer screens flickered with alien data signatures unlike anything humans had ever encountered. The ships moved with mathematical precision, each vessel positioned to maximize devastation and minimize resistance. "They're scanning our entire planetary defense grid," she whispered to her colleague, her voice barely audible over the humming computer systems. Military installations across continents went into high alert. Tanks rolled out of hidden underground bunkers. Fighter jets scrambled from secret air bases. Naval destroyers positioned themselves strategically along coastal regions. But everyone knew traditional weapons would mean nothing against technology, so advanced it seemed like magic. The first alien dropships descended over major population centers: New York, Beijing, Moscow, London. Their design was brutally efficient. Triangular shapes that seemed to absorb light, with no visible propulsion systems. When they landed, the ground trembled. Massive hatches opened. Armored figures emerged. Not humanoid, but something entirely alien. They moved with synchronized precision, energy weapons crackling with potential destruction. Each soldier stood, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in adaptive metallic exoskeletons that seemed to shift and change with environmental conditions. Minjun watched the live feeds, his breath catching in his throat. The alien troops weren't just invading. They were systematically neutralizing communication networks, power grids, and military installations with calculated efficiency. In Washington, D.C., General Robert Henderson studied the incoming data. "They're not here to negotiate," he told his command team. "This is complete planetary subjugation." The first energy weapons fired. Cities flickered with unnatural light as defensive structures were instantly vaporized. Entire military bases disappeared, in moments reduced to molten landscapes of destruction. But something unexpected was happening. Despite the overwhelming technological superiority, human responses were chaotic, unpredictable. Where the Zorn expected structured military resistance, they encountered something far more complex: human adaptability. In small towns and large cities, people didn't just panic. They organized. Community leaders quickly established emergency communication networks. Scientists began analyzing the alien technology in real time. Military personnel who survived the initial strike started developing counter-strategies. Yuki's computer suddenly picked up an anomaly. The alien scanning frequencies weren't accounting for the complex, non-linear communication methods humans were rapidly developing. Their rigid technological approach couldn't immediately comprehend human improvisation. Minjun realized something profound. The Zorn expected a conventional war, but humans were about to show them something entirely different. As the first day of invasion ended, the planet looked devastated. Hundreds of thousands were dead. Major cities were in ruins. But something was brewing, a resistance that the Zorn couldn't predict or understand. Humanity wasn't just going to fight. They were going to fight in a way no galactic civilization had ever witnessed before. The invasion had begun, but the real war was just starting. In command centers, underground bunkers, and makeshift resistance camps, humans looked at each other with a shared understanding. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was about proving that humanity was more than just another conquered species. They would show the galaxy what humans were truly made of. The Zorn invasion force expected total submission. Instead, they found something entirely unexpected: human unpredictability. Ji-Woo Kim worked frantically in a hidden research facility beneath Seoul. Her quantum computing algorithm wasn't just a defense mechanism. It was a weapon of chaotic potential, As alien troops marched through urban landscapes, her program began its silent warfare. Communication networks that the Zorn believed were completely disabled suddenly sparked to life, in strange, unpredictable patterns. Military drones that should have been destroyed began moving in mathematically impossible trajectories. Captured alien communication systems started broadcasting random interference that scrambled their precise battle networks. In the first week of invasion, something strange happened. Alien combat units found their advanced targeting systems going haywire. Weapons that should have destroyed entire city blocks suddenly misfired. Tactical formations that worked perfectly in thousands of planetary conquests began to collapse. An alien commander named Vrel couldn't understand what was happening. Their technological superiority had always guaranteed instant victory. Humans were supposed to be primitive, predictable, but these humans were anything but predictable. Local resistance groups started using whatever technology they could find. Teenagers hacked into alien communication systems. Engineers modified industrial machinery into makeshift weapons. Farmers turned agricultural equipment into unexpected combat tools. A small group in rural Brazil converted a farming drone into a weapon that could detect and disrupt alien energy signatures. In the mountains of Nepal, a team of computer scientists created a virus that spread through alien technological networks like a digital pandemic. The Zorn discovered that humans didn't fight like any species they had encountered before. Where most conquered civilizations collapsed immediately, humans were adapting in real time. They didn't have a single strategy. They had thousands of strategies happening simultaneously. Military veterans who had been retired suddenly returned to service, bringing decades of strategic knowledge. Young technology experts developed solutions faster than the aliens could counteract them. University research labs transformed into emergency technology development centers. Jiwoo's quantum algorithm did something remarkable. It didn't just defend, it learned. Each interaction with alien technology made the human response more sophisticated. What started as simple interference became a complex neural network that could predict and counter alien tactical movements. Vrel received reports that defied all logical understanding. Entire invasion units were being neutralized not by conventional weapons but by human creativity. A squad of alien soldiers would be tracking a human military unit, only to discover their tracking systems had been completely reversed, making the humans the hunters. Global communication networks, which the Zorn believed they had destroyed, began operating through unexpected channels. Amateur radio operators, satellite internet hackers, and local community networks created a communication web that the aliens couldn't easily dismantle. The psychological impact was significant. The Zorn had conquered hundreds of civilizations by creating immediate, overwhelming fear. Humans responded with something far more dangerous: hope and determination. Schools became training centers. Every citizen became a potential resistance member. The entire planet was transforming into a complex, adaptive organism that refused to be conquered. Satellite images showed something unprecedented. Where other civilizations would have large areas of total destruction, human cities were already rebuilding. Damaged infrastructure was being repurposed. Destroyed technology was being reverse-engineered. Vrel realized something that would send shockwaves through the entire Zorn Imperium. Humans were not just resisting. They were evolving their resistance in real time. The invasion was supposed to be a simple planetary takeover. Instead, it was becoming the most complex military engagement in galactic history. Humanity had just entered the war, and they were playing by rules no one had ever seen before. In research labs, military bunkers, and community centers around the world, humans looked at each other with a growing understanding. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to prove something fundamental about their species, the us. Real battle was just beginning. Dr. Hyun Kwan's underground research facility hummed with an electricity of pure potential. Scattered across steel tables were pieces of alien technology, fragments that most scientists would have considered impossible to understand, let alone modify. The global scientific community had transformed overnight. Universities, research centers, and private laboratories were now unified under a single mission: developed technologies that could counter the alien invasion. What used to take years of bureaucratic approvals now happened in hours. Captured alien energy shields became the primary focus. Most scientists believed they were unbreakable. Hyun saw them as puzzles waiting to be solved. His team worked around the clock, analyzing molecular structures, quantum interactions, and energy transmission frequencies. 3 weeks into the invasion, something remarkable happened. A prototype shield generator created by Hyun's team could actually adapt faster than alien weapon systems could target it. The molecular structure could reconfigure itself in microseconds, making traditional targeting completely ineffective. Military commanders were stunned. What seemed like scientific theory was now practical battlefield technology. The first test showed a small defensive unit could withstand direct hits from alien plasma weapons that had previously vaporized entire military installations. In a hidden facility in Brazil, another team discovered how to hack alien communication networks. What started as simple signal interference became a complex system of digital warfare. They could now not just block alien communications, but actually send false information through their own networks. Global technology companies that once competed now shared research in real time. A microchip design from a Korean electronics firm could be instantly transmitted and reproduced in an American manufacturing plant. The speed of innovation was unprecedented. Young engineers and scientists who were previously working on consumer electronics now focused entirely on survival technologies. Smartphone design experts were now creating advanced sensor systems. Video game programmers developed complex battlefield simulation algorithms. Satellite networks that the aliens believed they had destroyed were actually being rebuilt using modified consumer electronics. Amateur radio operators and internet hackers created communication networks that could instantly reorganize if parts were destroyed. Hyun's most significant breakthrough came unexpectedly. By studying alien energy transmission, his team developed a completely new type of quantum computing system. It wasn't just faster. It could predict potential attack scenarios with unprecedented accuracy. Military strategies transformed. Instead of responding to alien attacks, human forces could now anticipate them. Defensive positions were no longer static but dynamic, changing faster than the aliens could comprehend. The psychological impact was immense. Where other civilizations had been quickly defeated, humans were not just resisting but actively improving their technology during the conflict. Each alien attack provided more data, more understanding, more opportunities for innovation. Weapon systems that were considered science fiction weeks ago were now becoming reality. Adaptive armor that could change molecular density. Energy weapons that could target specific molecular frequencies. Communication systems that could operate through multiple dimensional channels. Global collaboration reached levels never seen before. A researcher in India could share a breakthrough with a team in Canada within seconds. Language barriers disappeared as translation technologies improved. The entire planet was becoming a single massive research laboratory. The Zorn invasion force started receiving reports that defied their understanding. Weapon systems that worked perfectly in thousands of planetary conquests were now becoming ineffective. Their technological superiority was being challenged by a species they had considered primitive. In space stations and alien command centers, military leaders began to realize that this invasion was not going according to plan. Humans were not just resisting. They were evolving their resistance technology faster than the invaders could adapt. Hyun looked at his team, exhausted but determined. They weren't just developing technology to survive. They were reimagining what technology could be. The technological revolution had begun, and humanity was writing its own rules. As night fell across the planet, research facilities continued to work. The hum of computers, the spark of innovative ideas, and the determination of a species fighting for its survival created a symphony of human potential. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The world had changed. Countries that once argued and competed now stood shoulder to shoulder against a common enemy. The alien invasion had done what decades of diplomacy could not. It had united humanity. Sarah Lee, a former software engineer, turned military strategist, stood in the Global Command Center. Representatives from every continent were now working as a single unit. The room buzzed with multiple languages, but everyone understood the same mission. In the past, cultural differences would have created conflicts. Now those differences became strengths. Brazilian jungle warfare experts shared tactics with Arctic warfare specialists from Russia. Korean quantum computing teams collaborated with African communication network designers. Indian logistics experts worked alongside American military planners. Military strategies became a complex global dance. Where traditional warfare relied on national boundaries, this new approach was fluid and adaptive. A defense system developed in Japan could be instantly replicated and modified in Argentina. A communication breakthrough from Nigeria could be implemented in Canada within hours. The psychological warfare was particularly innovative. Each culture brought unique approaches to understanding and disrupting alien communication and tactics. Chinese strategic thinking combined with Brazilian improvisational techniques created battle strategies that were completely unpredictable. Refugee camps became centers of resistance. People who had lost everything became the most motivated fighters. Engineers who were once competitors now shared resources. Scientists who had worked in isolated laboratories now collaborated in real-time global networks. Military training transformed. Soldiers were no longer just trained to follow orders but to think independently. Every soldier became a potential strategist, able to adapt to changing battlefield conditions. Traditional military hierarchies gave way to more flexible, intelligence-driven approaches. Religious differences disappeared. Mosques, churches, temples, and community centers became emergency communication and support networks. Faith communities that once argued about differences now worked together to support resistance efforts. Economic systems were completely reimagined. Money became less important than resource sharing. A microchip factory in South Korea could instantly redirect its production to create military communication devices. A farming community in Brazil could quickly transform agricultural equipment into battlefield support vehicles. Sarah's psychological warfare algorithms became a game changer. By analyzing global communication patterns, cultural nuances, and historical conflict resolution strategies, her team could predict and manipulate alien communication networks in ways the invaders couldn't understand. Young people became the most critical resource. Teenagers who grew up with rapid technological changes could adapt faster than traditional military structures. Video game players became drone operators. Social media experts became communication strategists. The entire generation was now part of the global resistance. Educational systems changed overnight. Schools became training centers for survival and resistance. Children learned not just traditional subjects but also technological adaptation, communication strategies, and unified thinking. The alien invasion force began receiving reports that made no sense to their rigid understanding. Humans weren't just fighting. They were evolving their resistance with each passing hour. What worked in one part of the planet would be quickly adapted and implemented globally. Indigenous communities brought unique survival skills. Arctic survival techniques from Inuit communities were combined with Amazon rainforest navigation skills. Desert survival strategies from African tribes were integrated with mountain warfare techniques from Himalayan communities. Global communication networks operated through completely unexpected channels. When traditional satellite systems were destroyed, amateur radio operators, community internet networks, and innovative communication technologies kept information flowing. Sarah watched the Global Command Center with a sense of hope. Humanity was no longer a collection of countries. They were a single adaptive organism fighting for survival. The Zorn invasion force had expected a quick, simple conquest. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a united human species that refused to be conquered. As night fell across the planet, resistance groups in every time zone continued their work. The global unification was complete. Humanity was no longer fighting as separate nations. They were fighting as one planet. And they were just getting started. The final battle wasn't just about Earth anymore. Humanity had become a beacon of hope for dozens of enslaved civilizations across the galaxy. Minjin Park stood on the bridge of the human defense flagship, watching, as combined fleets prepared to strike at the heart of the Zorn Imperium. Ships from Earth mixed with vessels from recently liberated planetary systems, a coalition that defied everything the Zorn believed possible. Years of resistance had transformed humanity from a seemingly insignificant species to the most feared and respected civilization in the galaxy. The Zorn had conquered thousands of worlds, but they had never encountered a species like humans. Communication networks from liberated planets showed something extraordinary. Worlds that had been under Zorn control for centuries were now rising up. The human resistance had become more than a military campaign. It was a galactic revolution of hope. Quantum communication systems developed by human scientists allowed instant coordination between resistance groups across multiple star systems. What the Zorn saw as a weakness, human diversity, became their most powerful weapon. The battle began with something unexpected. Instead of a traditional space engagement, human strategists launched a multidimensional attack that confused alien defense systems. Cyber warfare teams infiltrated Zorn communication networks. Psychological warfare algorithms created massive disruptions in alien command structures. Alien Commander Vrel watched in disbelief as their most sophisticated defense systems began to collapse. Human technology wasn't just matching Zorn capabilities. It was evolving faster than the invaders could comprehend. Liberated planetary systems brought their own unique strengths. A desert world's communication technologies combined with Earth's quantum computing. An ocean planet's adaptive warfare strategies merged with human psychological warfare techniques. The human fleet wasn't just fighting, they were rewriting the rules of galactic conflict. Traditional military strategies became obsolete. Each moment brought new, unexpected approaches that the Zorn couldn't predict or counter. Minjin's communication team intercepted Zorn internal communications. The invaders were experiencing something they had never encountered: total strategic uncertainty. Their rigid hierarchical system was collapsing under the weight of human unpredictability. Technological innovations happened in real time. A weapon system developed during one battle would be instantly modified and shared across the entire resistance fleet. What used to take years of development now happened in minutes. The psychological impact was devastating. The Zorn had built their entire civilization on the belief of their technological and strategic superiority. Humans were destroying that belief with every engagement. Smaller planetary systems that had been conquered for generations began to see a path to freedom. The human resistance wasn't just fighting. They were inspiring hope across the galaxy. Communication. Intercepts showed Zorn leadership in complete panic. Their most sophisticated AI systems couldn't predict human behavior. Every strategic model they had developed was falling apart. The final assault on the Zorn home systems was unlike any military engagement in galactic history. It wasn't just a war. It was a complete reimagining of conflict, strategy, and civilization. Minjin looked at his diverse crew, representatives from Earth and liberated worlds. They weren't just soldiers, they were architects of a new galactic order. "We're not just fighting for Earth," he announced to the United Fleet. "We're fighting for every civilization that has ever been oppressed." The quantum drives hummed. The final counterattack began. Across thousands of star systems, enslaved civilizations watched. The Zorn Imperium, which had seemed unbeatable for centuries, was about to learn a fundamental truth. Humanity wasn't just a species. They were a force of nature. The galaxy would never be the same. As the battle reached its climax, something became clear. This was more than a war. This was a revolution that would reshape galactic civilization forever. Humanity had arrived, and they were here to stay.